Hello, hello. Thank you for tuning in. Can I please get a microphone check? Let me know in the chat if you can hear my voice. While we're waiting for that, thanks, Fate Master. Appreciate it. Please learn and obey the #1 rule in DeFi. Your secret recovery phrase, also known as the seed phrase. It's the 12 words that you get whenever you create a new Web3 wallet. So the seed phrase is the most important thing on your crypto journey. You want to keep it as a hard copy, not as some kind of electronic file. Don't take a picture of it. Don't have it as a text file. Don't have it as any sort of a file on a phone or a computer, because if that device gets hacked and you lose your seed phrase, that's it. It's game over. You're going to lose all of your crypto. So obviously I don't want that to happen to anybody. So please keep it as a hard copy. It goes without saying, hopefully never give your seed phrase to anybody, no matter what they say. They will try to trick you into giving up your seed phrase. Don't fall for the scams and the tricks. Never email it to anybody, and certainly never enter it anywhere online. That is one of the most common scams. They'll try to get you to go to a website and enter your 12 words. But that is your secret recovery phrase, emphasis on the word secret. So you have to keep it a secret. Don't fall for the tricks. Don't enter it anywhere online. You'll never need it again in the future unless you are restoring your wallet on a brand new device, a new phone, a new computer. That's the one and only time you ever need your seed phrase again in the future. Otherwise, just leave it somewhere safe and secure, locked away. Don't pull it out for anything unless you're restoring your wallet on a new device. So that is it for the #1 rule in DeFi. Very, very important. I always start all of my live streams off with the #1 rule in DeFi. That's the easiest way for any of us in DeFi and crypto to get hurt and lose all of our crypto. So obviously, I don't want that to happen to anybody. Thank you for tuning in. It is Monday, March 25th. I'm a little bit late today, so excuse me for that. It's 6:22 p.m. Eastern time. I am Brandon, also known as the DeFi Guide. What I do on this channel is provide education. So I'm all about teaching people all about crypto and DeFi, all the ins and outs of Web3. And I don't provide any sort of advice on this channel. Okay, that is my common disclaimer. Your investment decisions are yours alone. Don't try to hold me responsible for any of the decisions that you have made. It's your money, it's your decision. What I do is provide the education so that you can make a well-informed, well-educated decision. That being said, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite ways to earn money in DeFi, which is providing liquidity. And thank you to Jashawn, who's actually on the show with us. Jashawn and Johnny from Crypto Unlimited 22. They have been talking about providing liquidity on a new blockchain called Sui. And the APRs are pretty awesome. So I thought I would talk about that today. Providing liquidity is one of the lowest risk things that you can do in DeFi. And the APRs, the annual percentage rates, the rate of return that you're earning on your capital is very, very nice. So it's in my mind, it's the perfect combination of something low risk and high return, relatively high return. We're talking about hundreds of percent APR. So we're going to talk about that today. If we get enough live viewers for the live stream, we have 21 live viewers. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Please share the stream with as many people as you possibly can. Your Discord groups, your Telegram groups, your Facebook groups, your text message groups, whatever. However you can, share the link, share the stream. And if we get at least 40 live viewers, I'm going to be giving away some free crypto. I've been doing this twice a week for a long, long time now. Mondays at 6 p.m. Eastern, Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, when we get enough people tuning in for the live stream, I actually give away $20 worth of crypto. It's not a lot, but every little bit helps. So be sure to like the video. That will also help with the algorithm. And then share the stream with as many people as you possibly can. If you're watching this video later on the recorded version of the video, I really appreciate you watching my videos. Please remember to like the video, leave a comment down below. Unfortunately, you have missed the live event, and that's the opportunity to get some free crypto. So make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on those notifications. You want YouTube to notify you, ding your phone, whatever you have, so that you're alerted to the fact that I'm going live. And if you have the time, all you have to do is show up. Just tune in for the live event and you'll have a chance to win some free crypto. I'm just looking at the comments real quick. Let's go ahead and add Jashawn into the show. Hey, Jashawn, how's it going?
I'm doing good. Can you hear me? We're doing well.
Yes. Yep. I can hear you loud and clear. Thanks for joining me. I wanted to get your take on all of this since you've been doing this longer than I literally just bridged some capital over to the Sui blockchain today.
Nice. This debate on whether it's Sui or Sui.
Sui is that's how they call the pigs, right? Sui. So, okay, so this is the blockchain here. Oops, that was fun. The blockchain is called Sui. Let me just bring up a chart of the token. So this is a brand new network with its own gas token. Jashawn has done a lot of research on this blockchain. Do you want to, could you give us kind of a brief summary or synopsis of sort of some of the advantages of this blockchain? What kind of sets it apart, do you think?
Sure. So this was founded by several members of the team that were working on Facebook's blockchain. And they came to a couple of conclusions. They didn't feel necessarily that scalability was a major issue. They thought that the most pressing issue for crypto adoption was the onboarding, right? So they've done extensive research and using ZK technology, where they have a thing called ZK Send, and then they have a thing called ZK Login, which enables you to basically log in to a Sui or a Sui wallet using like a Gmail account or using Twitch. And it uses ZK technology to basically create the wallet and it ties it to that login. I'm not recommending that, but like that's what they've done. And it allows you to actually, I could go in there with my wallet and I can basically take Sui or Sui, and then I can create a link and then I can email it. So you could technically email the crypto back and forth, and then you could log in with your Gmail and claim it. One of the other
interesting.
Yeah. So one of the other primary differences is they're using the Move language, which was the language that they actually created for that Facebook blockchain. Aptos also uses the Move language. One of the cool things with scalability, why they don't feel that that's an issue, is that they've taken a different approach on blockchains. So I'll use like a quick analogy without getting into the technical side of things. First, because I'm not super technically savvy, and just to make an easy analogy. Imagine your normal blockchain, everything's on contracts. So let's say we're trying to buy the same token and millions of us are trying to buy the same token. Let's just say it's USDC to make it simple. Even though we're buying USDC on a DEX here or a DEX there and we're transacting it, USDC is still stored on a contract, right? So as more and more people are interacting with that contract, you're going to hit a bottleneck, right? There's only so many people that can interact with the same contract at the same time. And that's true across almost every blockchain. The way that Move and the way that Sui works, everything's treated as an object. So it's like an object model. There are still contracts, but imagine it's divided into two different types of transactions, a simple transaction and then a complex transaction. But imagine if your USDC is an object. Every single USDC is an object, right? So if you want to get a bunch of USDC, instead of us all bogging down and ripping it from that same contract, essentially, right? All you have to do is interact with the actual object that you're trying to acquire. So if every USDC is an individual object, you're just interacting with that object and it gets sent to you and there's a transaction. If I'm sending USDC to you, those objects are going from my wallet to your wallet, and that's a simple transaction. And the way that Sui does it, there's no consensus there. They don't need consensus to go person to person because I own the asset on the blockchain. I give it to you. Now you own it. So it uses objects instead of bogging it down. If it's on a DEX, it's a little bit more complex, and then that's where the consensus does kick in. But because of the way that they're doing it this way, they just did a test. I think it was last week. It's like their proof of elasticity, basically where if you just take another CPU and you add more and more CPUs, the throughput increases potentially infinitely, as long as you just add more CPUs because of the way that the blockchain's structured. So it doesn't have that normal scalability issues that your typical blockchain would have. And it's super cheap, and that's about it in a nutshell. What else I got for you?
I'm glad to hear it's super cheap. I did have an opportunity when I used this bridge to not only receive my USDC bridged over, but also to receive some of the SUI gas token. I don't know whether it's SUI or SUI, but I had an opportunity and I took it to receive some of the gas token, but I only got like half of a SUI, which as you can see is about about 85 cents or so.
Yeah, the transactions are really, really cheap. And you know how you have Gwei on most other gas chains, they have mist, and it's like
Yes, I saw that too.
Billions of mist per SUI token. And then they have like a unique validator mechanism where the validators basically can undercut each other to keep the gas price really, really low. So there's not like a finite gas price. So as the price of SUI goes up, the gas transactions don't necessarily go up in cost. The validators are competing with each other to keep the cost relatively low. It's pretty cool.
Speaking of validators, that reminds me of another question I was thinking about while you were talking. Is there an opportunity, do you know, for everyday folks like you need to join in the consensus mechanism of this network? In other words, is there an opportunity for us to stand up a validator or a miner to validate transactions and earn some SUI on the side?
So I'm not sure what the minimum requirement is. I was actually just looking at some of the main validators earlier, but some of them are in the hundreds of millions to the 30 millions tokens. So that's something that I am going to look into. But a lot of the validators do have millions of tokens at this point. What the threshold is, I'm not sure.
And in any respect, there's apparently a pretty dang good opportunity to provide liquidity on the gas token and USDC, that's what I like to do in general. As you know, I like to provide liquidity for sort of good, solid, reliable tokens, gas tokens that are used on the main network. So this definitely fits within that mold, but it seems like the opportunity is a lot higher with SUI on the turbos, and we'll get into the details of that soon. Do you have any idea why that is such a rich opportunity?
So a couple things. The SUI Foundation does a really good job of offering incentives. So if you build, and it's really wide range too. I was listening to something earlier where whether it's gaming, whether it's DeFi, no matter what the niche is, there's an opportunity to develop and to work with the foundation to build on SUI, because again, their main focus is the adoption, right? Because that's where they believe the bottleneck really is in crypto in general. So Turbos, Cetus, a lot of these DeFi platforms, they do have a lot of incentives that are coming in, which boost your APR. So even when the volume's down, you're still getting like a 200%, 250% APR consistently. And when the volume's up, so like last week when the volume was up and SUI was really pumping, we were seeing 900%, 1,000%. It's down a little bit as the market's gone down. But yeah, so Cetus and Turbos are definitely the main two. Turbos tends to have a higher, more accurate because the TVL is lower, and I think the incentive to TVL ratio is a little bit better. But if you actually look at Cetus and Cetus's Sway or USDC pool, they actually have more volume. So, but they also have more TVL.
And it's boosted by like extra SUI tokens, correct?
Yep. Turbos is boosted by SUI, and then on Cetus, it's a combination of SUI and the Cetus token.
Right on. Yeah, so we'll definitely get into the nuts and bolts of providing liquidity. I have to say, as a liquidity provider, this is the sort of price action that I love to see. A lot of basically sideways price action, which is great. You know, you don't have to worry too much about impermanent loss, or you don't have to worry about your range being overrun to one side or the other. And just to give you a sense of this, this is zoomed out on a 1 hour chart. And I've been attempting to provide liquidity on ETH, USDC. And as you can see, the price chart is not a straight line. It's not flat. And so I was providing liquidity. I got overrun. I was providing liquidity. I got overrun. You know, it just kept happening over and over again. Here, I mean, you don't mind getting overrun to the upside. It just means your entire liquidity position gets converted to, in this case, USDC. Nothing wrong with holding a bag of USDC. You would have gained in the overall value of your position, but it is kind of frustrating when that price runs away. You're no longer earning that passive income. And you have to sort of rebalance your position. You have to buy, in this case, again, ETH at a higher price than what you bought before. There's risk associated with that. You know, so when I look at that chart for SUI, I'm like, that looks pretty good, in addition to the additional incentives that we get through the DEX. Anyway, before I get into the nuts and bolts, I do want to do a quick drawing. So last week I talked about the new protocol SwapX, which is going to be a decentralized exchange from a development team headed up by a developer by the name of BB, who is the original sort of sidekick or partner to Forex Shark, the actual pen to paper dev, if you will, coder that created or helped Forex to create Drip Network. So they've given me, the team behind SwapX has given me 30 whitelist spots for the upcoming X NFT pre-sale. I've already allocated 27 of those 30 spots, and now I'm going to raffle off the remaining 3. So this was all done last week in terms of, you know, signing up for this wheel. So I'm just going to do the 3 drawings real quick, and then we can get into the details for SUI. So here we go. So T. Roy Andrews is going to get a spot. I will remove him from the wheel. We'll draw 2 more. I will reach out to these folks via Telegram, let them know they've got a guaranteed spot on the whitelist. Superstar Crypto, you're good. And 1 more. Lenara, you've got a spot. So these folks will have a guaranteed whitelist spot, meaning they can purchase up to 10 X NFTs for SwapX when the time comes. It'll be at least, I would say, at least 3 or 4 weeks from now. The X1 blockchain from OKX is not even live yet. So obviously that's one of the first steps before we do before SwapX can be launched. All right, guys. So feel free to ask any questions in the chat. We'll just go through the details. We'll get some help from Jashawn. So the first thing that I did to start my liquidity journey here on the SUI blockchain is I loaded this wallet. So this is suet.app. Let me go ahead and post that in the chat. Yeah, G Unit. I'm sorry. It was the opportunity was last week to sign up, you know, fill out the form, put me as the influencer, and you know, DM me your address and whatnot. So we had about a dozen people that went through that process, and that was it. So that's the wallet that you need. I've already installed this. Looks pretty much similar to Rabby or Phantom. Then, of course, I needed to get some money over to this blockchain. So what Jashawn recommended to me is something called Portal Bridge. There was another bridge that you mentioned, Jashawn.
Yeah, I can't think of it off the top of my head. I've had good luck with Portal Bridge though.
Now I did try to. So let me get the website for that. You always have to be careful with these DeFi websites that you're using the legit website. In general, you don't want to do a Google search because a lot of the scammers out there will actually pay for the search engine optimization and get their scam website listed as #1 on a Google search. So definitely want to be careful with that, and get the legitimate website URL from someone that you trust. So portalbridge.com. I've already done this. But when you first come to the website, you get to choose, which network you're going to bridge from. And then, of course, you're bridging to the SUI network. And Jashawn originally recommended that I bridge from Solana, or mentioned that it's possible to bridge from Solana over to SUI using USDC. And I tried that 3 or 4 times and it wouldn't go through. It actually had a banner here that said the Solana transactions are taking extra time. That's gone away, so maybe it would be possible and easy to get it to go through from Solana to SUI. But what I ended up doing, I got frustrated because I couldn't get it to go from Solana. I just selected BSC scan, good old, not BSC scan, BNB chain, good old BNB chain, and just connected my wallet, my Rabby wallet. And I had 400 or so USDC tokens in that wallet. It's been bridged over now, so I can't select it any longer. I still have 2 cents, but I'm not going to do that. So I just selected BSC network, connected my Rabby wallet. You can do the same thing with MetaMask, I believe, although I didn't see that as a choice when connecting my wallet. Anyway, I would suggest Rabby, RABBY. I do have a link below in the description. And then I selected my destination, being the SUI network, and I connected my Suet wallet. All right, so it was easy as that. There are a couple of choices here. I use the automatic bridge, and obviously it's not going to allow me to do 2 cents. I'm not even going to attempt it. I just want to see. When I actually had some USDC in this wallet prior to bridging it over, in addition to this choice right here, which I chose the automatic bridge, there was a little toggle switch that allowed me to also receive half of a SUI token. So this is what the transaction looks like. This is when I approved USDC from that wallet. And here's the actual bridge transaction on BSC scan. So on the Binance Smart Chain or the BNB chain, took my 427.4 USDC from that wallet. This is the blockchain explorer for SUI. So it's called suivision.xyz. I'll copy that. And I guess we can start to see some of that object-oriented mumbo jumbo that Jashawn was telling us about. I guess the transaction record here didn't look quite like I'm used to. And I had a hard time figuring out, well, where's my USDC? I can see the SUI tokens, like the gas fee that was paid. There's the half of a SUI that I received in my wallet from the bridge. And then I came over here to changes, and this spelled it out pretty clearly. So you can see this is my address ending in F682. I received that half of a SUI token, and I also received 426.115 USDC. So this is the bridge where you can actually get some money over to the SUI blockchain, whether you're going from Solana USDC or BNB chain USDC. Now, I went from BNB chain, so I had one extra thing to do, which again, Jashawn helps me out with this. When I received that USDC on the SUI end, it wasn't plain old USDC. It was USDC with a subscript of BNB. So it was like BNB version of USDC. And that is apparently not the right USDC with which I'm going to provide liquidity here on the next step. So I used a site called Cetus. Again, this came from Jashawn. So I'll copy that link for you guys if you're wanting.
Can I just interject just something quick here is when you are using Portal, you definitely want to use a USDC. Make sure that there's liquidity on the other side, because like, for example, let's say you use AVAX and you bridge over AVAX, it will bridge it over, but it'll be exactly kind of like you see, it'll be AVAX from AVAX. The reason why you're seeing the USDC like this is basically Circle and USDC have to support the different chains. There isn't a SUI version of USDC yet. So when you're actually doing that exchange from USDC bridged from BNB, you're going to the wormhole version, which is actually the Ethereum version bridged, which is the primary USDC that most people are using, because there isn't a native SUI USDC yet.
Gotcha. So I received BNB version of USDC, and I needed to swap that over to the wormhole version, which in fact is the Ethereum version.
Right. And if there are other DEXs that do focus on just liquidity in the USDC for this version when people are bridging over. But BNB, Solana, oddly enough, Arbitrum is one as well. But BNB and Solana are definitely the primary two that I would stick with, and stick with USDC.
Yep. And Gary says, yeah, thank you for that clarification, Jashawn. Gary says that's the only problem with Portal Bridge. There isn't always liquidity. Exactly. And that's why Jashawn is recommending for this particular network over here on SUI, we definitely want to use USDC. So I had to do that extra little swap, and it was relatively simple. It was just like any other swap. I now had half of a SUI token, so I had plenty of money for gas. In fact, let me see. Wonder if I can determine. Okay, so that was my total gas fee. Looks like 8/10,000ths of a SUI token. I suppose we could do the math, but that's cheap. That's a really, really cheap gas fee right there. And this was just for a swap, so that's kind of a very common transaction that you would do on any network, any blockchain, just swapping one token for another. That's a really cheap gas fee, especially considering the price of the SUI token. If we go back on here, USDC. I suppose I'll look at it on the Binance chain or the Binance exchange. It's not even $2. So that's a very cheap gas fee. Gotta love that. And so then all I had to do was swap my BNB flavor USDC over to this wormhole flavor, which is also the Ethereum version of USDC, right? That's been bridged over. Am I understanding that correctly, Jashawn?
Correct. Gary's pointing out that SUI is on Coinbase. That depends on where you live in the world. It's not offered everywhere, but that is a good point, Gary.
Oh, really? You don't have
No, we don't.
I mean, you're in New York, right? So
yeah, no, it's not available for trading here.
Bummer. But most of us, most of the people watching this live stream or my channel are going to be heavily involved in BNB chain, right? A lot of people are on the BNB chain. So I was happy to be able to use Portal to take it from BNB chain over to Sui. And just purely coincidental, I had a bag of USDC from StableSwap. So if you're not in StableSwap yet, I've been in since November 8th last year. It has literally been paying all of my bills. So if you want to find out more about StableSwap, I don't have any videos about it per se, but definitely join the Telegram group, which you can see scrolling along the bottom, t.me/team drip guide. Everybody should be joining that. It's free. It's open to everybody. And that is a great place to find out more about crypto and DeFi, including StableSwap. So I've been earning, what is it? 0.53% daily since November 8th, every single day, 7 days a week, 365 a year, 0.53%. That was the early bird special. There've been a couple of promotions. What is the highest that we got? Do you remember, Jashan? I think we got up to 0.48.
Yeah, it was 0.48 for St. Patrick's Day, was it?
St. Patrick's Day. Yeah. But even when there's not a special promotion going on, which Danny, one of the founders of StableSwap, likes to do those promotions once in a while. But even if there's not a promotion going on, the long-term rate on stable coins is 0.3% daily. And that's based on USDT or USDC. So you know that your principal isn't going to lose or gain any value. It's just going to be sitting in there. You're providing liquidity for an over-the-counter crypto exchange used primarily in the Philippines, but it's used in Turkey, I believe, Vietnam. There's United Arab Emirates, I believe. There's about 4 or 5, maybe 6 different countries where StableSwap is being used in an over-the-counter way, so people can swap between fiat and crypto and vice versa. So your capital, your stablecoin capital, is used to provide liquidity for that OTC exchange, and in return for locking your capital for up to 300 days, which you get the capital back after the end of the lock, you're earning a very attractive daily interest rate, and it's been working flawlessly again since November 8th, and literally paying all of my bills. I aped in pretty hard because I needed the passive income. 0.35% daily, says Fuzzy Crypto, and that is on the 300-day lock. Again, you get your stable coins back at the end of the 300 days, and all the while during that 300-day time span, you're receiving that daily reward rate every single day. It's quite beautiful. So again, join the Telegram group, t.me/team drip guide. You could type #StableSwap, #StableSwap when you get into that chat, get some more information about it. Anyway, I want to continue with this and see if we have any questions. So I think we're ready. What do you think? What do you say, Jashan? We're ready to go over to the
I want to show just one quick thing. If you go back to the Block Explorer, back to Sui Vision. What's cool about this is if you actually put your wallet in here, it's actually like a portfolio type tracker. But if you go to, you can put your address in there. And then just wait a second, click down below. You got to click down below. Yeah. And once you actually start providing liquidity, you'll see your NFTs. You can see everything here, including your activity and all your transactions. But one thing that's pretty cool is if you go to the DeFi section at the top, they have all of the major protocols are already there. So if you were trying to kind of do some research and look around, so if you click on Cetus, for example, and then scroll down, you'll see the actual pairs that are on Cetus and the current APRs. And they have this for not all the protocols give you an APR read, but you'll see it for the most common ones, which is just kind of give you a heads up when you kind of log in and you're checking it out.
And I think the APRs that they list here, they can't know what range you're gonna provide liquidity at. So this is probably just like the full range, I would guess.
The USDT, USDC ones tend to be a really tight range that I've found. But for the rest of them, it's what you said, like your APR will be higher, more likely.
Yeah, once I zoom in, concentrate in on it on a tighter range, my APR is going to be better than that. So we'll do it right now. We'll see what kind of APR we're going to get.
The one thing with Cetus, if I know we're talking about turbos here, but on Cetus, they won't actually show you your APR, which is the part that's kind of a bummer. You'll set your ranges narrow, but you don't know what APR you're going to get. It's kind of a guessing game with Cetus.
Interesting.
Yeah, but
even once you've provided the liquidity already, it won't.
You'll see what your return is based off 24 hours, but when you start to set your ranges, there's no real gauge. They don't show you that gauge. They just show you what the current APR is in general.
Sounds like a kind of a UI deficiency there.
Yeah, the one thing I do like about this is they keep the 24-hour TVL and your volume, like right here, so you can come in and kind of get a general idea. Because you'll notice here that the volume is starting to pick up on Cetus, and the volume is starting to get higher than the TVL. Turbos is a little bit behind that.
Oh, that's interesting. So yeah, so 23 million in daily volume and only 20 million in TVL, which means all of our capital is getting turned over at least once, which is kind of the way stable swap works, right? I mean, that's the way, because you have those OTC fees, but it's the same capital being turned over multiple times. It's way more than is even needed to get that high daily rate.
And what you're seeing right now, it's just starting to pick back up after that last drop. So when it was pumping there last week, it was probably 3-4 times the volume versus the TVL, or close.
I'm just curious what that 0.35 rate is. If it's 0.35% daily, then the APR is 127. Okay. So that would be kind of my benchmark then. I would say if I'm going to provide liquidity somewhere, I want to get at least 127, 128% APR, preferably better. Otherwise, I might as well just add to my liquidity that I'm providing on StableSwap. Although that puts a lock. I have to lock it.
Yeah, and you will get price appreciation with SWI.
Yeah, and that's exactly. So especially if I sort of manage my range, and if and when the price starts to appreciate and kind of trend upwards, I can periodically go in, remove my liquidity, and add it back in at a, rebalance the position and add it back in at a slightly higher range. Speaking of ranges, I know that Johnny is doing this. Are you providing liquidity on SUI USDC yourself, Jashawn? And if so, what's your range?
Yes. So I was keeping a pretty narrow range up until recently when we started to see these pumps. So if you kind of back a little bit, SWI was staying really in a nice, almost like, 150 to 170, and it would have a typical drop out of range, but it would come right back in, right? So normally, we don't immediately rebalance. We're letting it go for 24 to possibly 48 hours, and it would come right back in. But when they did that elasticity test and we started to see the market kind of move, I went with more of a wider range. So the range that I'm running right now is actually, I'm running a 159 to 209, but I widened that up for some room to grow at the top.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah. And I'm just looking just basic technical analysis here. You can see there's a lot of equal lows and equal highs. Real pretty tight trading range there, like you were saying. And then we definitely broke out higher, dipped back in, and now we're kind of cruising upward. So I would sort of lean towards, maybe this sort of area. Like you said, 159. This is 162. So pretty dang close. I feel like that's probably a decent bottom of the range somewhere in this area. And then you probably want to cover yourself all the way up to the high there. What'd you say the top of your range is?
I went with 209 because it was really moving. So I wanted to see where it was going to settle. So I wanted to go wide enough on the high side to catch it if it kept going.
And I think this is the previous all-time high here in February. Yeah, so you have a lot of room to the upside, which, yeah, I like that idea. And then of course, if the price is right here and the bottom of my range is somewhere in this area, relatively close to the current price, and then the top of my range is way up here, when I provide liquidity, towards the lower end of my price range, that means I'm going to have to put in mostly SUI with just a little bit of USDC. So the only USDC that I would need in that position is enough USDC to be buying SUI if the price drops down towards the lower end of my range, right? And then I need a lot of SUI to cover me as the liquidity position is selling SUI on the way up, which is something I always talk about. When you're providing liquidity, you're taking the opposite side of all the traders. So if traders are buying, your liquidity position is selling. And it sounds like Deshaun has positioned his his LP to have plenty of SUI tokens in reserve to keep selling it and selling it and selling it all the way up to, sorry, what'd you say again? 209?
Yeah, I went with 209. So if you can see where you can see the top of that candle, it was pumping really, really heavy at that point. So that's kind of when I made the choice that I wanted to reset that way.
Yeah.
And if I go off the top, normally I will have like a lower limit on the top. It never bothers me when we go over the top because you're in profit, right? But I just wanted to keep it in range a little bit longer. And I felt like based off of where the market was and the recent news that they had, I was relatively confident that we wouldn't see it drop down into the 140s, 130s again. Knock on wood. At least in the short term.
And that's, I mean, it always is kind of a mixed bag. When price goes out of your range to the upside, you're kind of disappointed because you're no longer earning that sweet APR. But at the same time, you made a nice gain on your position. You can always wait for a pullback. You might not get the pullback, but you can wait for a pullback, convert some of your USDC back into SUI, sort of buy low, start over again.
100%. And kind of like my mindset on it is I'm already taking some of the SUI from my rewards that I'm holding long term. And then I have a certain amount of my portfolio that I want to invest in V3, and I want that to make passive income. And I'm not necessarily married to what that bag is. Right now it is SUI and USDC. So if I go over the top range and I have to come back in and readjust, it's still that percentage of my portfolio allocated to the V3 liquidity provision. So that's kind of like my thought process on it.
Yeah. And just speaking in broader general terms, I just love the idea of providing liquidity for these main gas tokens. And then over time, even though it'll take some management and some rebalancing, and you'll deal with setbacks once in a while, like I was providing liquidity for ETH USDC, this is the last time. And then it just dropped out of my range. So what am I doing now? Well, I'm holding on to a bag of ETH. Not a big deal. I believe very strongly that it'll come back. So, you'll have to deal with those things and those maybe occasional setbacks over time. But over a longer period of time, you're building a larger and larger bag. You're giving that high APR a chance to really work for you, because it's not just 0.2, 0.3, 0.4% that you're getting every day. It's also the ability to compound those earnings, once a week, couple times a week, whatever you're doing, where you're growing your position over time, and you're really giving that powerful compounding interest time to really have a big effect on your overall position. And I think as a liquidity provider, you're also earning more income with more volume. And I think the story here, of course, is the adoption of Web3, the adoption of decentralized exchanges. So I think the volume in general is just going to keep going up and up and up and up and up over time. Our APRs are going to stay solid and probably grow over time as well. So let's go to turbos. Let me give you guys the link for this. Looks like we discussed, there are a couple of different choices in terms of providing V3 or concentrated liquidity. But Jashawn, and how did you guys find this, you and Johnny?
YouTube video.
There we go. Classic. So they stumbled upon this this decentralized exchange, and once you saw these APRs, it was a no-brainer, as they say, right? So let's see here. So first of all, taking a look at my wallet, I have a little bit of SUI and a bunch of USDC. Kind of need to switch that around. So first thing I'm going to do is a little swap. Now, would you recommend swapping right here on turbos, or would you recommend swapping on a different exchange?
No, I've had no issues swapping here. One thing you don't want to do is they have the option to, you can trade on deep book. So if you see on that trade where it's currently off, for DeFi, you want to leave that off. It's up at the top next to trade. Yeah, so trade on deep book. So deep book is more of like your bridge token, your ETH, your bigger things. You don't want to trade with that. Just make sure that that's off.
Okay. And I want to switch this around. I just went with the browser extension wallet. So my seed phrase is exposed here. It's my seed phrase is in the app. Normally, I like to have my seed phrase only on my ledger, and I use Rabby to access that seed phrase and those wallets. But in this case, it's only $400. I am going to bridge some more over here. Hopefully I can bridge some USDC from Solana. I guess I'll probably give up on Solana and Radium in exchange for SUI and turbos, because the APRs are better. And that's what I care about. I want to provide liquidity for a token that I'm getting a nice high APR. Are you still in Radium, or?
So I have some tokens in actual Radium token. So I've been in range for several days now. So I'm doing USDC Ray. And then I do have some stuff on Orca. So Orca has some decent APRs, and they have more volume than Radium does. I know Radium's been working on a beta version, which hopefully will help with the memory issues. But then just coincidentally, going back to the ledger comment, there is SUI ledger support, but it works similar to the way that the MetaMask would work with the dummy wallet.
Okay, so I would still need to have my dummy wallet or my browser extension wallet, and then I would just need to, like MetaMask, you're saying, right?
Yes, it's similar to that way right now.
Okay, and I didn't do that. I kind of last minute with all of this stuff. So after the stream, I will go ahead and install, because you have to go on Ledger Live. You have to install the SUI app on your Ledger, right? And then I'll switch everything over, because I like to have the protection of the ledger for my seed phrase. So there's the swap. So just if you didn't notice while we were talking there, what I did is I just simply swapped 325 USDC for 188.45 SUI. Hey, do you know if does Koinly have support for this network yet?
I haven't gotten that far. I've done no transactions in this year yet. And I'm very close to finishing. So tonight, cross my fingers, I'll be finishing my taxes tonight. So
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm so far away from finishing my taxes. I still really, honestly, I need to do what do they call that? Amended return. I need to do an amended return for 2021, really, because I did things a little bit differently. And then I need to do my data for 2022, and then finally get into 2023.
Well, I'll tell you, I just got into the Solana stuff yesterday, and
Yeah.
watching the guide and using the null token stuff. I mean, the Solana V3 is so easy and so smooth compared to the ROI DApp stuff. Like, it was like night and day. So once I transitioned out of my ROI DApp stuff for the year and I got into the V3 with Solana and that strategy that you talked about with the null tokens, it's smooth as butter.
Oh,
Works
the
really
dummy
well.
like the dummy LP tokens.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, other than having to enter the manual transactions and then merge them. Yeah, it goes yeah, it's very smooth. Like it's very simple. Like you just have capital gain or capital loss. You bought the LP tokens for this amount, you sold them later on for that amount, or exchanged them, or it has a special categorization for the transaction, liquidity in, liquidity out. But yeah, it's very simple. You don't have to worry about all the crap that we have to worry about for ArcFi and Drip and all the ROI dApps, that's for sure. So what I did is I swapped USDC for SUI. So now if we look at my wallet, I've got kind of 3-to-1. So if this ends up being too much, that's fine. I'd rather hodl some of the SUI tokens for some extra capital gains. There's when you're providing liquidity and the price goes up, you're not experiencing a loss. You're experiencing a gain. But if you had just held the token by itself, your gain would have been better. So to give you an example, if I zoom in over here, when ETH went up from 29.94 to 32.57, that's like 10%. That's almost 10%. So I experienced a gain in my liquidity position over these few days here of 5%. But if I had just held ETH from that price to that price, my gain would have been higher. In fact, I would have continued to reap gains as the price went even higher from there. So the impermanent loss that you experience as a liquidity provider, it's not really a loss. I think of it more as an opportunity cost. Your gain, you're kind of capping your gains. You're limiting your gains as opposed to just holding the token outright, in which case you experience all of the gains if the price is appreciating, but you also experience all of the loss if the price is going down. So it's a double-edged sword. Anyway, I don't mind having some extra SUI tokens. Let me bring that chart back up. I should add it to my watch list over here, to be honest, but I will do that a little bit later. So we're going to start around $1.72 for SUI, and let's just go ahead and put this money in there. So I guess you go here under earn, and that's easy enough. We're going to select this one. Stop me if I make a mistake, Deshaun. And I'm going to want to go ahead and put all of my USDC in there. And then where do I get to set my range?
Up at the top, you can see where there's a little rainbow that says light. Change that to
okay.
Pro. There
we go. That looks better. And let's see. I don't want to go that low. Let's think about $1.60 up to, and we'll try it there. We'll try 205. We'll try 204.6365. So the estimated APR, that's pretty good. And I'm going to be using all of my USDC, and you can see it automatically matched me up with 138 of my 188 SUI tokens. I think I want to use a little bit more. So I would need some more SUI if I go higher this way. I think I'm going to end up right about where you are on the max price, Jashawn, maybe about 209.
Yeah, I've been steady the last couple of days, right at about 200. There's a
200%
volume.
APR.
Yeah. Yep. When the volume kicks up, though, it'll go up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is pretty good. That's going to leave me with about 36, 37 extra SUI tokens for the HODL for my little side bag of SUI. So that sounds pretty good. And the moment of truth, I mean, I've had so many difficulties on Solana and using Radium. I don't know if it's the Radium site, right? Or is it the Solana, or is it both?
It's probably both, but Radium doesn't help.
Yeah. So this is the moment of truth. I wonder how easily and quickly this will go through. So adding liquidity. Is there a choice of fee tiers?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Selected range, approve. Approve. Dun, 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 dun. Congratulations. Well, that was quick. No errors, no whammies.
It's fast.
Beautiful. Okay. All right. So there's the transaction. Let's see the result in my wallet. I've only got 37 SUI tokens left. Nice little side bag.
On the bottom, you can see your NFT. I think it's the second icon over on the bottom.
Turbo's position. Nice. All right. And I want to see it on the UI. Okay. Simple. There it shows me it's in range. I'm earning a little bit more than 200% APR. I dig the rainbow text here. And tell me, Jashawn, my rewards, obviously I'm going to receive some SUI. I'm going to receive some USDC. Am I going to receive a third token like on Radium when I receive Ray?
No, you only get turbos if you provide liquidity for the turbos pair. But the way that this works, you're going to get two sets of rewards. You'll get your fees, and then you'll get the rewards separate. So you can do, so you've already started to get the SUI rewards. This is part of the incentive. You could claim them separately, or from the UI you were on before, you can claim them all together. So you'll get much more SUI or SUI than you would USDC.
Okay. Okay. Cool. And this predominantly, this is what we're in this business for, is the trading fees. And that's the glorious thing about providing liquidity on a decentralized exchange. If you think about traditional finance and traditional exchanges like the New York Stock Exchange, I said that kind of fast, the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ Stock Exchange, the Chicago Board of Options Exchange, there's a bunch of different exchanges where these are companies that are earning crazy amounts of money just providing a market where other people can trade stocks and options and futures back and forth. So regardless of the direction of any of those stocks or options, the exchange doesn't care. They're just providing that service and collecting lots and lots of nice fees. So decentralized exchanges give us an opportunity to be the exchange and to collect those juicy trade fees and those juicy APRs, like 200% APR. So I've met my goal. I wanted to do something better than 128% that I know I can get right now on stable coins on StableSwap. Plus, I have a little side bag of SUI that may or may not go up in value while I'm providing liquidity. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. And like I said at the beginning, this is predominantly what I like to do in DeFi. Of course, I have my more speculative positions. I have my dogs tokens. I got my pigs tokens. I have my elephant tokens. A lot of farm animals or zoo animals. I've got my drip tokens. I've got my drip X position X. My drip X position. I got miners. I got stakes. You know, I have all those more speculative plays that may or may not work out, may or may not give me nice returns on my capital, but most of my money goes into plays like this, where I'm providing liquidity for a solid token. I'm adding my little part to the proliferation of crypto, of DeFi, of decentralized exchanges. Obviously, decentralized exchanges are way better than centralized exchanges. I'm one of the original Mt. Gox victims over here. Not to mention, you know, I never lost money in any centralized exchange. After Mt. Gox, I learned my lesson, but a lot of people didn't learn that lesson, and a lot of people lost a ton of money in centralized exchanges when they got hacked or fraudulently got ripped off, like FTX. So decentralized exchanges are the answer to that. True decentralized finance, true trustless systems. So I like to support that kind of a movement almost, and earn some nice passive income along the way. So hopefully that is helpful to all of you. I'm not really seeing any questions. Loved all the info you provided. Oh, well, thank you for that comment, Crocs. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you to Jashawn. I don't think did you notice, Jashawn, did we ever get more than 20 or 30 live viewers? I can't do a giveaway unless we get enough live viewers.
I didn't notice.
It's only 21 right now, and nobody was waving their hand. Yeah, and by the way, I know this is a long video. All of my live streams are at least an hour and 10 minutes long. So if you do want a shorter video and you want to watch something that will take you step by step through the process of providing liquidity and creating an LP, what you can do is go on my channel, DeFi Guide. And I have a less than 15 minutes video that will take you through the entire process of creating an LP, creating a liquidity position right here. It says DripX tutorial. That's only because that was the context in which I made the video. I was providing liquidity for Wrapped Drip and BNB, I believe. Right now, I'm actually providing liquidity for Wrap Drip and Drip X, and that's going really well. But if you want to learn the steps and learn the process, watch that video right there. And then join the Telegram group. If you still have unanswered questions, there is no such thing as a dumb or a stupid question or something that's too new, like you're too much of a newbie. That is my whole mission in life, is to make this crypto and DeFi learning curve a little flatter. So please do not feel shy or embarrassed to ask the simple questions. I would just highly suggest that when you ask those questions in my chat room, look for the answers only in the public chat. Okay. It's a public chat, so there's all kinds of scammers in there. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do to stop scammers from joining my public group. And what they're going to do, as soon as you ask a question, they're going to start sending you direct messages. They might even call you on your Telegram account. But they're going to send you these private messages directly to you. It's a scam. They're trying to rip you off. It's almost guaranteed. It's like 99.999% of the people that contact you privately are looking to rip you off. So avoid the DMs. Ask your questions in the main chat. Look for your answers in the main chat. So definitely follow up those videos with some questions and answers in the main Team Drip Guide Telegram group. Also, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, tune in for my live streams, possibly win some free crypto, ask your questions during the live stream. Have you already done a video on how to rebalance your position? It just would be doing this. So you'd have to start by removing your liquidity. When you say rebalance, that means two things. It means the ratio of, for example, SUI to USDC, that ratio is going to change, maybe because the price changed and or your desired range has changed. So when you say rebalance, it's kind of two things in one. You're changing the balance of your two tokens or the ratio, and you're also changing your price range, either your min or your max or both. And so that's this right here. You essentially just need to remove your current position and then create a new position using the steps that are enumerated in that video right there. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for being here. And if you are in Solana Explorer, have you heard of that, Jashawn? Meteora?
Yeah, so Meteora DLM is in a beta. The interface reminds me a little bit of Trader Joe, but it does do V3 liquidity, and they have different pools, but they have kind of predetermined ranges. You can make the ranges more narrow than the predetermined ranges that they provide by basically providing liquidity to less bins, which is why it reminds me of Trader Joe. And then they're also the protocol that Jupiter used to backstop the Jupe token, and as well as When. And I believe going forward, when Jupiter starts launching tokens in their launchpad, they'll also be using Meteor's DLMM to backstop it. And it's an interesting way where ahead of the launch, you can provide the other side of the LP. So let's say they launch a new token. You can provide the USDC ahead of time. And the token gets launched in a way when people start buying it, that it basically filters into your LP. So you start with just providing USDC, and then as the token launches, it starts to filter in. And great opportunity as an LP provider to make very high APRs in the first couple hours of a launch. So it's definitely worth looking into, but there are limited options, and the pools are handpicked, and the ranges are narrow.
Interesting. Yeah, there's all sorts of things to look into and to, do the deeper dives on all these different things. I like to keep it simple, especially for the purposes of this channel and the different tutorials and whatnot. But definitely, join the chat. Jashawn is in my chat as well. So I've seen him in there answering questions many times. So thank you for that, Jashawn, and thank you for coming on. I really appreciate the support.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And by the way, guys, we stream almost every Saturday night. I missed the stream last Saturday because over the weekend I went to California and watched my daughter sing in an opera, which was absolutely amazing. But normally on Saturday night, we stream over on Crypto Unlimited 22. So Crypto Unlimited 22. So I'm going to shut the stream down right after the stream. Head on over to Crypto Unlimited 22, subscribe, turn on notifications, and catch one of our live streams on Saturday nights. It's myself, sometimes Jashawn, every time. What is it? Johnny Fawcett. I couldn't think of the last name there. Johnny Fawcett, the DeFi diva, graces us with her presence sometimes. And then, of course, the great, very knowledgeable, super well-spoken Bizy Dips from the Crypto Badgers duo. Bizy Dips always has some great things to teach us on these live streams. So make sure to check that out, and make sure to catch the live stream on Wednesday. That is going to do it. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. We'll see you Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern time, and I will see you in the Telegram group. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.